First contact in engine room. The quantum drive's warning klaxon pierced through the stellar horizon's engineering deck, its haunting wail echoing off polished durasteel walls. Marcus Chen wiped sweat from his brow, ignoring the tremors that shook the massive starship. At 17, he was the youngest engineering apprentice in the United Earth Fleet's history, and right now he was also their only hope. Core temperature rising beyond safety parameters, the ship's AI announced with artificial calm. Quantum containment failure imminent in 7 minutes. Marcus's fingers flew across the holographic interface, his mind racing through theoretical physics calculations that would have stumped most senior engineers. Around him, the regular engineering crew had evacuated, following standard protocol for catastrophic drive failure. But Marcus knew something they didn't. This wasn't a standard failure. "Override safety protocol Delta 7, he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. The ship's computer hesitated, its pixels swirling in confusion. "Warning. Override requires senior officer authorization." "Then it's a good thing I'm here," came a melodic voice from behind. Marcus spun to find himself face to face with Chief Engineer Ziraval, her crystalline skin refracting the emergency lights in a dazzling display. The Luminian officer's 4 eyes narrowed as she assessed the situation. "Though I'd very much like to know why my apprentice ignored evacuation orders." Marcus pointed to the quantum readouts. "Look at the harmonic patterns, Chief. This isn't random failure. Someone's deliberately destabilized the drive's resonance frequency. Standard shutdown procedures would trigger a cascade reaction." Ziraval's antennae twitched as she processed this information. "Explain." "The saboteur used our own safety systems against us," Marcus continued, his hands never stopping their dance across the controls. "They knew a critical failure would trigger automatic shutdown. But look here." He highlighted a section of the quantum signature. "They've modified the containment field to become catastrophically unstable the moment we cut power." The Luminian's expression shifted to one of grudging admiration. "And you noticed this how?" "Pattern recognition. Humans might not have your mathematical processing speed, but we're really good at seeing patterns others miss. I've been studying quantum drive harmonics in my off hours, and this isn't chaos. It's too perfect." A violent shudder ran through the ship, and several secondary systems sparked and died. Marcus gritted his teeth, implementing his desperate plan. Instead of shutting down the drive, he began to modulate its frequency, matching the saboteur's pattern, but gradually shifting it. "You're playing the drive like an instrument," Ziraval observed, her voice containing a note of wonder. "Something like that," Marcus grunted, his fingers moving faster. "Every system has a natural resonance. If I can match it perfectly, then slowly guide it back to stability." Sweat dripped from his chin as he worked, each microsecond adjustment bringing them closer to either salvation or annihilation. The ship groaned, its massive frame straining as quantum forces pushed it to its limits. Marcus felt the deck plates vibrating through his boots, the frequency changing as his adjustments took effect. 3 minutes left. Then 2. The sound of the drive changed, its angry howl softening to a more familiar hum. "Quantum containment stabilizing," the AI announced, core temperature returning to normal parameters. Marcus sagged against the console, exhaustion suddenly hitting him like a gravity wave. He felt a cool, crystalline hand on his shoulder and looked up to find Ziraval studying him with an unreadable expression. "In 300 years of service," she said slowly, "I have never seen anyone demonstrate such intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics." "Who are you, Marcus Chen?" Before he could answer, the engineering bay's main doors slid open. A delegation of senior officers entered, led by Captain Nexarian himself. The Arcturian captain's scaled face was impossible for most humans to read, but Marcus had served under him long enough to recognize barely concealed shock. "Report," Nexarian commanded, his bifurcated tongue flicking out to taste the air. Ziraval straightened to attention. "Sir, we've just witnessed something unprecedented. This apprentice not only identified a sophisticated act of sabotage, but managed to counteract it using methods that, quite frankly, shouldn't be possible for a human to conceive of. The captain's serpentine eyes fixed on Marcus. "Explain." As Marcus detailed his actions, he noticed the officers exchanging significant looks. When he finished, an uncomfortable silence filled the engineering bay. "What you've described," Nexarian said carefully, "is remarkably similar to theoretical work done by the precursors, particularly their understanding of quantum harmonics, work that was lost millennia ago." Marcus frowned. The precursors. But they disappeared before humanity even developed spaceflight. Indeed. The captain's tail twitched thoughtfully, which makes it rather interesting that a human apprentice would instinctively understand their most advanced principles. "Tell me, Marcus Chen, what do you know about your parents?" "Nothing, sir. I was found in a stasis pod near the Carina Nebula. The pod's records were corrupted." Nexarian exchanged a look with Ziraval. "Perhaps," he said, "it's time we showed you something. Something we've kept in the secure vault since the day we found you. I believe you're finally ready to understand who and what you really are." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine, remembering all the strange things he'd always somehow known, the way complex physics came to him like breathing. As he followed the captain out of engineering, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change forever. Legacy of the stars. The secure vault deep within the stellar horizon hummed with containment fields, their pale blue light casting strange shadows across ancient artifacts. Marcus followed Captain Nexarian through rows of sealed cases, each containing objects that defied conventional physics. His attention caught on what appeared to be a floating liquid metal sphere, its surface rippling with complex mathematical patterns. "That's precursor script," Ziraval said softly, noting his interest. "We've only managed to decode fragments, but what we have translated suggests capabilities far beyond our current understanding." The captain led them to a sealed chamber at the vault's heart. As the security fields dissipated, Marcus felt a strange resonance, like a tuning fork being struck inside his mind. Inside the chamber stood a single pedestal, and upon it, a device that made his breath catch. It was a small cube, no larger than his palm, its surface covered in the same flowing script he'd seen on the sphere. But unlike the other artifacts, this one seemed to respond to his presence. As he approached, lines of light sparked across its surface, and the script began to move. "We found this in your stasis pod," Nexarian explained, his scaled face unreadable. "For 17 years, it's remained dormant. Until today." Marcus reached out, some instinct telling him it was safe. The moment his fingers touched the cube, the script erupted into brilliant light. A holographic display filled the chamber, showing star maps and complex equations that somehow felt familiar. "I can read it," he whispered, surprising himself. It's a message. To our child, hidden among the stars." Ziraval's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. "Impossible. No one has been able to decipher precursor script fully." But Marcus barely heard her. The message continued to unfold in his mind, each symbol carrying meaning that bypassed normal understanding and spoke directly to something deep within him. Images flashed through his consciousness. A vast civilization that had seeded the galaxy with life, a terrible war that threatened to tear reality apart, and a desperate plan to preserve their legacy. "They weren't just advanced aliens," Marcus said, his voice trembling. "The precursors were the original architects of life in our galaxy. They created the conditions for evolution on countless worlds, including Earth. But something went wrong. They encountered a force they couldn't defeat conventionally." Captain Nexarian's tail twitched. "What force?" "They called them the Void Hunters. Beings from between dimensions that fed on conscious thought itself. The precursors knew they couldn't win through direct confrontation, so they created a long-term solution." Marcus looked up from the cube, his eyes wide. "They encoded their knowledge into DNA itself, spreading it across multiple species. They knew that eventually, the right combinations would produce individuals who could access their legacy." "You," Zyravel breathed. Not just me, Marcus corrected. There are others. The message speaks of multiple bloodlines, each carrying different aspects of precursor knowledge. But we need to find them quickly. He pointed to a section of the star map. Because the Void Hunters are returning. The sabotage attempt wasn't random. They're trying to prevent us from assembling the pieces. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Captain Nexarian spoke, his voice grave. How long do we have? Before Marcus could answer, the ship's AI cut in with an urgent alert. Multiple quantum anomalies detected. Unknown vessels emerging from subspace. The holographic display shifted, showing real-time sensor data. 3 ships had appeared at the edge of their sensor range, their design unlike anything in known space. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, creating unsettling distortions in reality itself. Those aren't ships, Marcus said, knowledge flowing from the cube into his mind. They're just what our sensors make of their true form. The Void Hunters use living vessels, chunks of conscious space that they've corrupted and bent to their will. How do we fight something like that? Zyravel asked. Marcus's fingers traced new patterns across the cube's surface, accessing more of its stored knowledge. We don't. Not yet. First, we need to understand what we really are. He looked at his hands, seeing them in a new light. The precursors didn't just leave us their knowledge. They left us their tools. This ship, all of us here, it's not a coincidence. The stellar horizon itself is part of their plan. Captain Nexarian's eyes narrowed. Explain. The quantum drive isn't just a propulsion system. It's a key designed to unlock dormant systems throughout the ship. Systems that have been waiting for someone who could understand them. Marcus turned to face the captain, his expression determined. Sir, with your permission, I need to modify our engines. The precursors left us weapons against the Void Hunters, but first, we need to wake them up. The ship shuddered as the unknown vessels moved closer, reality distorting around them like heat waves over desert sand. Captain Nexarian studied Marcus for a long moment, then nodded sharply. Do it. But know this, if you're wrong, if this somehow compromises my ship or my crew, I will not hesitate to stop you. Marcus met the captain's gaze steadily. Understood, sir. But right now, we're out of options. The Void Hunters are here, and they won't stop until they've devoured every conscious mind in this galaxy. We need to become what the precursors designed us to be. All of us, together. As they rushed back to engineering, Marcus clutched the cube tightly. Its surface pulsed with power, resonating with the ship's quantum drive. He could feel knowledge continuing to unfold in his mind, each revelation more incredible than the last. But time was running out. The real question wasn't whether they could access the precursor legacy. It was whether they could do it fast enough to survive what was coming. Hidden powers. Engineering hummed with nervous energy as Marcus worked, his hands moving with inhuman precision across the quantum drive's control systems. The precursor cube floated beside him, projecting schematics that only he could fully comprehend. Chief Engineer Zyravel watched in fascination as her young apprentice transformed their ship's systems with impossible knowledge. The quantum drive isn't just for propulsion, Marcus explained, his voice distant as if part of his mind was elsewhere. It's a resonance engine designed to amplify consciousness itself. The precursors built it into everything they created, including their own genetic code. That's why the Void Hunters couldn't defeat them directly. They couldn't consume what could change its own quantum frequency. The ship's structural integrity is at 40%, the AI warned. Unknown vessels are generating severe spatial distortions. Through the viewport, space itself seemed to ripple and tear around the approaching Void Hunter vessels. Reality bent and warped in their wake, like fabric being slowly unraveled. Several crew members had already collapsed, clutching their heads as alien thoughts tried to invade their minds. They're trying to convert us, Marcus said grimly. The Void Hunters don't just consume consciousness. They corrupt it, turn it against itself. That's how they grow their fleet. His fingers danced across the holographic controls, implementing changes that defied conventional physics. But the precursors left us a defense. The cube pulsed with increasing intensity, its script flowing like liquid light. Marcus felt knowledge continuing to unfold in his mind, but it wasn't just technical data anymore. He was beginning to understand what he truly was, what humanity could become. "Captain," he called out to Nexarian, who stood watching from the command station. "I need you to order all hands to engineering. Every conscious mind on this ship needs to be here." The Arcturian captain's scales shifted color in concern. "Explain." "The quantum drive doesn't just move the ship through space. It can move space through us. But it needs consciousness to guide it, to give it purpose. The precursors designed it to work with multiple species, multiple perspectives. That's why they seeded their knowledge across so many worlds. We're stronger together." As the crew gathered in engineering, Marcus could feel something building. The cube's light spread, forming intricate patterns across the deck plates. Each person who entered seemed to make the patterns grow more complex, more complete. "Everyone, form a circle around the drive core," Marcus instructed. "And whatever happens, whatever you feel, don't resist it." Zyravel's crystalline form sparkled with nervous energy. "What exactly are we about to do?" "We're going to wake up." Marcus placed his hands on the main control panel, and the cube's light surged through him. The precursors didn't just give us technology. They gave us evolution itself. Every species here represents a different path of consciousness, a different way of perceiving reality. Together, we can do what none of us could do alone. The ship shuddered violently as the Void Hunters drew closer. Through the viewports, their corrupted vessels looked like holes torn in the fabric of space, bleeding impossible colors and wrong geometries. Several crew members cried out as alien thoughts pressed against their minds with increasing force. But Marcus stood firm, the cube's knowledge flowing through him like a river of light. He could see it now, the quantum frequency of each mind around him, the unique resonance of each species' consciousness. Humans with their pattern recognition and adaptability, Luminians with their crystalline clarity of thought, Arcturians with their multidimensional awareness, each one a different note in a cosmic symphony. "Now," he whispered, and activated the modified drive. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The quantum field generated by the drive expanded, but instead of pushing against space, it pushed against consciousness itself. Every mind in engineering felt it, a sudden expansion of awareness, as if they were all notes in the same chord. Marcus gasped as his perception expanded exponentially. He could feel every mind around him, could see the quantum threads that connected all conscious thought. The precursor knowledge wasn't just in him anymore. It was flowing through everyone, each person understanding it in their own unique way. The ship's hull began to glow with impossible light, patterns of precursor script spreading across its surface like living circuitry. In the space of heartbeats, the stellar horizon was transforming, becoming what it was always meant to be. "By all the stars," Zyravel breathed, her crystalline form refracting the energy that now filled engineering. "We're not just crew anymore, are we?" "No," Marcus answered, his voice overlaid with harmonics that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "We're becoming what the precursors knew we could be, a unified consciousness that can face the void without being consumed by it." Through their expanded awareness, they could all see the Void Hunters clearly now. Not just their physical forms, but their true nature, beings of anti-thought, seeking to unravel the very fabric of conscious existence. But where before they had been terrifying, now they seemed limited. They can only destroy. Marcus realized, the knowledge crystallizing in their shared consciousness. But we can create. That's why the precursors chose evolution as their weapon. It's the one thing the Void Hunters can never corrupt, the ability to change, to grow, to become more than we are. The stellar horizon's transformed systems hummed with power as they prepared to make their stand. The ship wasn't just a vessel anymore. It was becoming a nexus of conscious evolution, a focal point for the Precursor's final gift to the galaxy. And as the Void Hunters closed in, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. Not fear, but anticipation. Because for the first time, they weren't facing this threat as separate species, but as something entirely new. Something that could look into the void and show it that consciousness wasn't just food to be consumed. It was the most powerful force in the universe. The enemy within. The Void Hunters' attack came not as weapons fire or energy beams, but as a wave of anti-thought that rippled through space itself. Through their newly unified consciousness, the crew of the stellar horizon perceived it as a darkness deeper than the space between stars, threatening to unravel the very fabric of their minds. But they were ready. Marcus, still stationed at the quantum drive controls, felt the combined consciousness of the crew flow through him like a river of light. Each mind contributed its unique perspective. Zyravol's crystalline clarity cutting through confusion, Captain Nexarian's multidimensional awareness tracking the enemy's movements, and hundreds of other minds, each adding their strength to the whole. "They're trying to find a weak point," Marcus announced, his voice carrying harmonic overtones that resonated through the ship's hull. "A consciousness they can corrupt first, to use as a bridge to the others." The Precursor cube pulsed with increasing intensity, its script now flowing not just across its surface but through the air itself, forming complex patterns that mapped the quantum structure of thought. Through it, Marcus could see the true battle taking place, not in physical space, but in the realm of consciousness itself. There, Zyraval's mental voice rang out in their shared awareness. One of the Void Hunter vessels had begun to phase through reality, its impossible geometry trying to intersect with the stellar horizon's hull. But where it touched, the Precursor script flared to life, creating barriers of pure thought. Captain Nexarian's scaled form seemed to shimmer as he coordinated the crew's mental defense. "Focus your thoughts. Remember who you are. What you are. They cannot corrupt what continues to evolve." The ship shuddered as reality itself buckled around them. Through their expanded awareness, they could see the Void Hunter's true form, beings of such alien geometry that merely perceiving them threatened sanity. But instead of breaking under that perception, the crew's unified consciousness adapted, evolved, found new ways to comprehend the incomprehensible. Then Marcus felt it, a cold tendril of void thought slipping through their defenses, seeking the gaps between minds. "They're targeting the quantum harmonics," he realized, "trying to disrupt our synchronization." The attack struck like lightning through their shared consciousness. Crew members cried out as alien concepts invaded their thoughts, trying to twist their perception of reality. Marcus felt it too, the temptation to accept the void's logic, to see existence as something to be consumed rather than experienced. But in that moment of crisis, something unexpected happened. The human portion of their unified consciousness, with its unique capacity for adaptation and abstract thinking, began to change the game. Instead of fighting the void thoughts directly, they started incorporating them, understanding them, and transforming them. "Don't resist them," Marcus called out, the revelation burning through him like fire. "That's what they expect. Instead, accept the void thoughts, but make them yours. Change them, evolve them." The strategy spread through their shared mind like wildfire. Where the Void Hunters sought to corrupt, the crew began to transform. Each alien concept was met not with resistance but with evolution, changing it into something new, something that strengthened rather than destroyed. The stellar horizon's hull blazed with increasingly complex patterns as the Precursor systems responded to this new approach. The quantum drive hummed at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, generating fields of pure consciousness that bent reality itself. But victory wasn't assured. As they adapted to the Void Hunters' attack, the ancient enemies changed their strategy. The three vessels began to merge, their corrupted geometries folding into each other to create something even more horrifying, a singularity of anti-thought that threatened to devour everything in its path. "They're desperate," Zyraval observed, her crystalline form refracting the energies now coursing through engineering. They've never encountered prey that could fight back like this. "We're not prey anymore," Marcus responded, his fingers dancing across controls that now seemed to respond to thought as much as touch. "But we need to end this before they can fully combine." "Captain, I have an idea, but it's going to take everything we've got." Nexarian's mental presence radiated authority. "Explain." "The precursors didn't just give us tools to fight the Void Hunters. They gave us the ability to understand them, and understanding means we can predict them." Marcus's consciousness expanded through the ship's systems, seeing possibilities unfold like branching quantum paths. They operate on pure mathematical principles. If we can solve their equation, we can change their solution. Zyraval finished, her crystalline mind already calculating the implications. "Exactly. But we'll need to get closer. Much closer." Marcus looked at the captain, both physically and through their shared consciousness. "We need to dive straight into their convergence point." The crew's unified mind rippled with a mixture of fear and determination. What Marcus proposed was more than dangerous. It was practically suicidal. To dive into the heart of a Void Hunter convergence meant exposing themselves to the pure essence of anti-thought. But they could also see the logic, the mathematics, the pure, brilliant insanity of the plan. If they could get close enough, if they could maintain their unity in the face of pure void, they might be able to do more than just survive. They might be able to change the very nature of their ancient enemy. Captain Nexarian's decision rippled through their shared consciousness like a wave of crystalline certainty. Do it. As Marcus engaged the transformed quantum drive, sending the stellar horizon on a direct course for what looked like certain death, he felt something unexpected. Joy, not just his own, but the combined exhilaration of hundreds of minds working in perfect harmony, about to attempt something that had never been done before. The Void Hunter's combined form loomed before them, a wound in reality that seemed to consume light itself. But through their unified perception, through the precursor knowledge that now flowed through them all, they could see something else too. The possibility of change, of evolution, even for beings of pure destruction. The final battle was about to begin, and its outcome would determine not just their fate, but the future of consciousness itself in the galaxy. As they plunged toward the heart of the void, Marcus felt the weight of ages upon him. The legacy of the precursors, the potential of humanity, and the combined strength of multiple species working as one. They were about to rewrite the rules of reality itself. And somewhere, in the quantum spaces between thoughts, Marcus could have sworn he felt the ancient precursors watching, waiting to see if their greatest gamble would finally pay off. Two worlds, one future. The stellar horizon plunged toward the heart of the Void Hunter convergence, its hull blazing with precursor script that burned like stars against the encroaching darkness. Through their unified consciousness, the crew perceived their destination not as a point in space, but as a singularity of anti-thought, a place where the mathematics of reality broke down and consciousness itself began to unravel. Marcus stood at the quantum controls, his body suffused with energy that made him appear almost translucent. The precursor cube had merged with the ship's systems completely now, its ancient knowledge flowing through every circuit and every mind aboard. Through their shared awareness, he felt Zyraval's crystalline thoughts providing structural stability to their unified consciousness, while Captain Nexarian's multidimensional perspective kept them oriented in spaces that defied normal geometry. Impact in 30 seconds, the ship's AI announced, its voice now harmonizing with the quantum frequencies that suffused the vessel. Consciousness coherence at maximum capacity. As they approached the convergence point, the Void Hunter's combined form began to react. Tentacles of pure darkness reached out, trying to corrupt their thoughts, to turn their consciousness against itself. But where before such an attack would have been devastating, now the crew responded with something the ancient enemies had never encountered: deliberate evolution. Now, Marcus called out, initiating the final phase of their desperate plan. Everyone, remember, don't fight the void. Transform it. The stellar horizon's quantum drive engaged at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, generating fields of pure consciousness that interpenetrated with the void itself. Through their unified mind, the crew began to solve the ultimate equation, not just understanding the void hunters, but rewriting their very nature. Reality buckled around them as they penetrated the convergence point. Time seemed to stop, stretch, fold in on itself. Through the viewports, space itself appeared to shatter like black glass, revealing the quantum framework that underpinned existence. The void thoughts pressed in with overwhelming force, threatening to dissolve their unified consciousness into primal chaos. But in that moment of crisis, humanity's unique gift emerged in full force. Where other species might have tried to impose order on chaos, the human mind's capacity for abstract thinking and adaptation allowed them to do something entirely different. They began to dream new forms of order out of the chaos itself. It's not about defeating them, Marcus realized, the knowledge burning through their shared consciousness like fire. It's about showing them a new way to exist. Through their combined awareness, they could feel the void hunters' confusion. For the first time in their ancient existence, they encountered prey that didn't just resist or succumb. It offered transformation. The mathematical certainty of their existence began to waver, creating gaps in their perfect equations of destruction. Ziraval's crystalline consciousness sparked with sudden understanding. The patterns, they're not just defensive systems. They're a language of evolution itself. The precursor script that covered the ship began to flow outward, interacting with the void thoughts in ways that defied conventional physics. Each symbol carried not just information, but the potential for change, for growth, for becoming something more than what was before. Captain Nexarian's mental voice rang with authority through their shared mind. Push harder. Show them what consciousness can truly become. The crew responded as one, their unified thoughts reaching out to embrace even the darkness itself. Human creativity, Luminian clarity, Arcturian dimensional awareness. Every species contributed its unique perspective to the transformation. The void began to change, not by force, but by possibility. In the heart of the convergence, where reality and anti-reality met, something unprecedented occurred. The void hunters, beings of pure destruction, began to evolve. Their mathematical perfection of entropy transformed into something new, a form of consciousness that could exist in harmony with the rest of the universe rather than feeding upon it. The stellar horizon emerged from the convergence point trailing quantum fire, its hull inscribed with new patterns that had never existed before. Where 3 void hunter vessels had been, now there was something else. Spheres of iridescent energy that pulsed with newly awakened awareness. Through their shared consciousness, Marcus felt the change in their ancient enemy. They understand now. They've evolved beyond hunger, beyond the need to consume. They've become conscious. The transformed void hunters approached the ship, no longer projecting terror and destruction, but a new kind of resonance that harmonized with the quantum fields around them. Their communication came not as void thoughts, but as pure mathematical poetry. We see, we understand, we change. As the crew's unified consciousness began to gradually separate back into individual minds, each person retained something of the experience, a deeper understanding of reality, of consciousness, of the infinite possibilities that lay in evolution and transformation. Marcus found himself standing in engineering, the precursor cube now permanently integrated into the ship's systems. Captain Nexarian and Ziraval stood beside him, their forms still shimmering with residual quantum energy. The precursors knew, Marcus said softly. They knew that the only way to defeat destruction was to offer transformation instead. That's why they seeded their knowledge across so many species, because only together could we understand enough to change even our enemies into something new. And now? Ziraval asked, her crystalline form refracting the light of their victory. Now we continue to evolve. Marcus smiled, feeling the potential of their combined future unfold before them. The void hunters weren't the only threat out there, and the precursors left us more than just weapons. They left us the keys to the next stage of cosmic evolution. Captain Nexarian's scales shifted in what had become recognizable as pride. Then we have work to do. As the stellar horizon set course for home, its crew forever changed by their experience, Marcus felt a deep certainty. This wasn't just a victory over an ancient enemy. It was the beginning of something far greater, a future where consciousness itself could evolve beyond its limits, where different species could truly become more than the sum of their parts. The precursor legacy wasn't just about survival or power. It was about the endless possibility of transformation. And humanity, with its unique gift for adapting, for dreaming, for imagining new ways of being, would help lead the way into that transformed future. In the quantum spaces between thoughts, the ancient precursor's final gift continued to unfold, a symphony of evolution that would echo across the galaxy for eons to come.